Here we are on today's edition of Locked On Blue Devils, a football show. JJ Jackson here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're going to talk football recruiting on the program today with my good pal John Garcia Jr. and a couple of Duke football commits join us on today's show. Let's get after it.
Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is JJ Jackson. It's so good to have you here with us on today's show. Follow me on Twitter at _JJ_Jackson_, and you can follow the show on Twitter at LO_Blue Devils. Be sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast right now so you can get the latest episode of Locked On Blue Devils as soon as it's available each and every day. Coming up on today's show, let's talk a little Duke football. Our buddy Mike Elko is absolutely killing it in the recruiting trail, and joining us from Locked On here and Sports Illustrated, John Garcia Jr., to talk about the success that Coach Elko has had. John, the time is always greatly appreciated. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Excited. We're getting close to football season. All the media days are starting to get behind us, so you can kind of feel the energy picking up, and recruiting has already picked up, certainly for Duke. So I'm excited on both fronts, football and recruiting culminating for this time of year where everyone feels good. You know, it's very rare in our great sport for everybody to feel pretty good, but we're here right now, so we should enjoy it.
John, the first time that we spoke, Duke only had 2 members of their 2023 class. They had Grayson Loftus at quarterback, Paul Davis at wide receiver, and I was telling you, it's hard to keep up with what they've been able to do on the recruiting trail because there's just such incredible momentum from Coach Elko and his staff.
Yeah, I mean, it's tangible at this point, and it's not just regional. It's not just one position or one assistant coach who's killing it, or even Coach Elko himself. It's everyone and everywhere. You know, the biggest class in America, I did a quick scan before we jumped on, is with the Duke Blue Devils at 25 verbal commitments, 12 states represented. You've basically got an entire recruiting class done. Now, they may take more, right? Transition classes are always kind of fluid from a numbers perspective, but yeah, this has become the biggest class in America and one of the best in the ACC, and that's not something that we typically associate with Duke football. So it's easier to win the offseason than the true season, but you got to recruit while you're there, and I think that's part of the reason why Elko was brought in. The philosophy has certainly resonated with this summer boom that we're seeing across college football. Duke has bought into that. Had a ton of visitors in June, a ton of decisions that month, and into July, where it's been like every day a new Duke commitment, it feels like. And yeah, things are about as good as you could have hoped for from a recruiting standpoint if you're a Duke football fan. And I think that is an advantageous position to be in come late July.
And again, that first commit was Grayson Loftus at the quarterback spot that Coach Elko is really excited about. It's always good to get that commitment from your quarterback. And then from there, it was just safe to assume a lot easier to build a class once you've got the quarterback in line.
100%. And I think when we talk about momentum in recruiting, we usually go broad because it's, hey, kids are committing left and right. But internally, it's peer recruiting. It's kids visiting together. So the more commitments, the more they come back to Durham to hang out with the next group of visitors, and then they become an extension truly of the coaching staff. There are no rules against communication for any recruit to another. So the pandemic classes at every school, certainly at A&M when Elko was there, taught us that, hey, peer recruiting is a very big deal. So when your first player committed is your headliner and is your quarterback, who is typically the group chat organizer, if you will, of these teenagers, that resonates because now all these messages from the coaching staff are filtered through the guy who is going to continue to do so for the next 4 years, maybe longer, in this day and age. So I do think that resonates, and it allows you to capitalize on momentum and communicate when you are regional, right? A handful of kids from North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, South Carolina, Georgia. That's like half the class committed from those states. That's drivable. That's drivable to Durham. That's drivable to the Triangle, where you can now coordinate a little bit more between yourselves, not just with the coaching staff. And I think that helps you snowball verbal commitments like we've seen with Duke. So absolutely critical to get Loftus on board first. And with him being a regional guy at that position, it's about as good as a start as you could have hoped for.
John Garcia Jr. is the director of football recruiting for Sports Illustrated, joining us here on Locked On. Our conversation here sponsored by LinkedIn. So, John, we're talking about this class as a whole, and you mentioned a little bit earlier, 25 people have made the verbal commitment to Duke football. The challenge now is to hold on to those 25 commits and then see if you can add to the class if you'd like to do that. What's so critical, though, as you highlighted, 12 different states represented. That's crazy. And leading the charge in that would be at running back Marquise Collins from College Station, Texas. Coach Elko has the College Station ties, his previous stop being there at Texas A&M. Tell me a little bit about this commitment and the fact that Duke football got a player out of the state of Texas.
And a good one of the leading rushers in the state, period, in 2021, nearly 3,000 yards to Marquise's name. But what's so cool about this to me, JJ, is that every school has, a local, every college has a local group of schools that play. And there is always a question, whether you're in Durham or College Station or Syracuse, New York, or Pullman, Washington. There's always that question from the fan base, like, man, like, what about this local kid? He's really good. Why do we have to go to Las Vegas to find a running back if we got one right here? And obviously that conversation built and brewed at Texas A&M last year because they had the number one recruiting class. But this kid in 2023, Marquise Collins, was setting the state on fire. Every single run on his tape is like an 80-yard burst of speed down the field. He's a track guy, but it really translates on the field at running back. He's elusive, he's quick, he's fast. He can make you miss without you touching him, or he could just outrun you. I mean, so many qualities you want in a modern spread type of running back prospect. And you just know the coaching staff at A&M last year had this kid up on the projector screen, and we're like, man, we could find a spot for this kid, we should probably grab him. So then Mike Elko gets this job, and he goes and grabs him at Duke. I mean, that is such a cool story, something that we don't see enough in college football recruiting, where the ties to the previous school really can latch a coach to a player, and it could be a beautiful thing moving forward. So not only do you hit Texas, like you mentioned, which is always important in building any kind of brand outside of your region, but you're doing it with arguably the most productive high school running back in the country relative to 2021, 2,800 yards, 40 plus touchdowns. I mean, just blowing the defense apart, with one cut and speed, just something that you can't teach. So when you're trying to turn a program around, you need some of these type of players in the class, guys who, the moment they get there, and Collins is 200 pounds right now, 5'10", 5'11", well-built, well-proportioned type of kid as a junior in high school. You need guys who are ready to go day one. And this is one of those day one guys for Duke. And it just happens to be a great story because of his roots being there in College Station, where of course, Coach Elko was the last couple of years. So I think it's one of the great stories and great prospects for this Duke recruiting class. And if it wasn't for Loftus, this would be the class headliner that I think everybody would begin the recruiting conversation with.
John, let's wrap with this. You talk about building a football program, building a team, building a recruiting class. The skill positions are so important, but you also have to get dudes in the trenches on both the defensive line and the offensive line. They've done that on the offensive side of the football. A couple of names jump out. You look at a guy in the state like Reagan McCranie, and then mentioning going to 12 different states. How about Duke going to Hoover High, a traditional football high school powerhouse, and getting a tackle in Ethan Hubbard? They've been able to put some work in when you got 25 guys, pretty much all the positions are covered, but it was pretty fun to see the offensive line shape up the way it has.
Absolutely. I think you've got to recruit with fluidity when you're building a new staff and a transition class like this is for Duke. And I think when it comes to the linemen, you have to have that as a priority. And look, Elko's coming from the SEC. I'm sure he's talked about it at nauseum at this point. You've got to build from the inside out. But within that, you've got to take chances in multiple directions. So in one light, with the in-state kid with Reagan, he's a kid who measurables wise, you wouldn't go, wow, that is a college offensive lineman. But then you watch the tape and he's just this little, relatively little grunt, 6'3", 285, just a pit bull gnawing at your ankles in a phone booth. And he's moving bodies in the process. I think he's one that, maybe he's on the bubble from a height and weight and length standpoint for a lot of schools, but he's semi-local, he's in state, and he plays really darn good football. The floor might be, where the ceiling is with this kid, but you live with that and you take those chances in state. So geographically, perceptionally, optically, it makes sense. And then you look at the kid from Alabama, Ethan Hubbard, and you're taking a different kind of chance. This is 6'6", 310 with some raw ability and measurables that you can build onto down the line. So, he's well coached, coming from Hoover High School, as you mentioned, an absolute power in the state of Alabama, basically for both of our lifetimes. But he's also got these raw traits and this great size that you can mold into something for your offensive line of the future. So I like that willingness to trust your own evaluation, which is always important for a new coaching staff, but also to take chances in multiple directions. You're not always going to be on the same wavelength. And with trench recruiting, offensive line and defensive line, you've got to stagger the talent, whether it's from a physical standpoint, like we're talking about here, from a technical standpoint, when they're ready to play at a school like Duke. I think you want to stagger that as well, because you want to build depth for 2023, but also, of course, for beyond, because every coach will tell you roster management is as crazy as it's ever been with the portal and NIL and all the fluidity and movement. So you want to build and stagger for today and tomorrow simultaneously. Easier said than done, but I think we've got some examples of that in this class.
You mentioned a school like Duke, John, and the entire school was focused this past weekend on Peach Jam and continuing to celebrate the great success it's had in basketball recruiting for decades at this point. And here we are talking about football recruiting for the Duke Blue Devils, leading the country with 25 commits. We've done it. We've done it, and we'll see if Coach Elko can carry that success over to the football gridiron.
Absolutely. You gotta win the off season before you win the season. Again, it's easier to do, but you still have to go out and do it. And tangibly, the biggest class in the country, one of the best in the ACC that has balance, and this, I don't want to say national, I don't want to jinx it, but it's got a semi-national appeal with 12 states represented. Yeah, mostly the Eastern Seaboard and that ACC footprint, but it's stretching a little bit, stretching into Georgia and Texas and some of that. So the more of that, the better for Duke and the unique opportunity that it affords. I think we talk about Stanford and some of these schools, Cal Berkeley, where it's like, man, these academics are so strong that you understand when kids are pushed that way. Duke wants to be in that conversation, and I think this is a good foundation to try to get there. It's not just a bunch of kids from Cary and Charlotte and Kannapolis. It's kids from all over the place. And I think that is another great strategy and strategic play by Coach Elko, certainly.
I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions apply. As always, John Garcia Jr., appreciate our time together. Thanks for joining on the Locked On Blue Devils podcast.
Thanks for having me back on, JJ. Enjoy it.
That's my buddy John Garcia Jr. joining us here on the program. And again, check out LinkedInjobs.com. We'll take a quick break. On the other side of this, we're chatting with Ethan Hubbard and Reagan McCranie coming up on Locked On Blue Devils. Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite spots and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sporting wagering information for live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They have you covered. BetOnline, where the game starts. We are back here on Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside Ethan Hubbard, another one of the newest commits for Mike Elko's 2023 class, joining the Duke Blue Devils. He's going to be bleeding blue throughout his entire college career, and Ethan joins us now here on the show. Ethan, first and foremost, thanks for taking some time to chat with me. I want to get into it. Why ultimately did you decide to commit to Duke?
The ultimate factor, but thank you so much for having me on. But the ultimate factor for me for deciding Duke was the education part. I love the education. Then part of Coach Elko too. Coach Elko made an amazing stuff and really wanted me to come to Duke. So, but yeah, I just love Duke. So
Yeah. Tell me about the first time you heard from the staff. Like, walk us through your recruitment process.
So Coach Cushing reached out to my O-line coach at Hoover probably February, and we started the recruiting process from there. So, and then I went up to camp during, it was either June. I went up to camp during June, and I did really good there. So, and then we started doing that recruiting process. And then 2 weeks later, I heard back from him, and he called me and said, "You want to take an official visit?" And I'm like, "Wait, have you offered yet?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've offered. You want to take official?" I'm like, "Sure, I will." So that's how it basically started off. So
When you went to that camp, was that the first time you had visited the campus before?
yes, that's the first time I ever visited the campus before. I was
What'd you think?
oh, I loved it. I love the atmosphere of it. Like I love small schools, so
Yeah,
but I just love this school. Like it has like a Hogwarts feeling to it. Whenever you like go in it, like
it does.
it's very like historic. So that's what I love about it. But I
So tell me
also want
about.
to say, hmm?
Go ahead.
Oh, but I also want to say too that I was a UNC fan growing up. So it's kind of weird
Wow.
being a Blue Devil fan, Blue Devil commit.
Wow, this is quite interesting. I mean, you're not the first person that's been in that position before, and I'm sure there are childhood Duke fans who all of a sudden start playing for North Carolina, and that allegiance sort of shifts. We're excited to have you playing for Duke once you get to the college level. I want to hear more about the camp, though. I mean, you said you felt pretty good about it. Did you think that an offer could potentially be coming?
Yes, sir. I think that was probably one of my best camps I ever did. That's probably one of the most athletic camps I had. Probably my 5'10" was a 4.8, my vertical was a 30, and my broad jump was a 10-inch 10-inch. I mean not 10-inch, a 10-foot broad jump. So, and then like the individual stuff I did with Coach Cushing, me and him really bonded over that, the coaching part. So basically, the one-on-ones went really good, and the individual coaching part went really good. So I think Coach Cushing was really pleased after that. So I think that was one of the best camps I ever did there.
Do you like pass blocking or run blocking more?
Well, my pass blocking is the best, but I really try and improve on my run blocking this year, but probably pass blocking.
What do you enjoy most about it? Why did you say pass blocking? Just because you're better at it, or is there anything in particular that you really enjoy?
Well, it shows off my athleticism because
Yeah.
I have a basketball background, so I just love pass blocking. It shows off my athleticism, my footwork, and plus I like to be faster than other people off the ball too. So
You've mentioned Coach Cushing a lot, and he's obviously the offensive line coach and a run game coordinator for this new staff that's being put together. What about Coach Johns? What have your interactions been like with the offensive coordinator for Duke?
So me and him, we first met on the official visit, and we really got off to a hot start because me and his family really bonded over the official visit, and then the last part of we were in the film room with him for 2 hours, and me and him were just going at it play by play, and we basically run the same offense at Hoover now with the new coaching staff. So this is really going to be a good fit for me. So me and him were just going at it, and we're like, yeah, we know this, I know that call. Oh, you make that call, so et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
I just really bond with the coaching staff. So
What about Coach Elko? That's the head coach. That's the guy that you certainly got to impress and be on his good side. So tell me about your interactions with Coach Elko.
oh, Coach Elko's great. He's just a football mind, or what? He's just a great guy and a football mind. I really didn't get to talk to him that much on the official visit, but I just spent a lot of time with the offense staff. But the end meeting, he really got me to commit though, because I was about to walk out without committing. I was probably going to be the only one commit without committing on that official visit. And then I just walked back into his office like, hey, can I commit now? So it was just a last minute decision. So because of this place is so great. So
Tell me about your family and their involvement in your recruitment. Obviously, when you decide to go to college anywhere, and on top of that, be a college athlete, that's going away from home, and a family is very important in making decisions like this. So tell me about that.
So my dad is really important in my recruiting process. He's really helped me out, and I have a recruiting coordinator too, which has really helped me out. So my dad's really involved with my recruiting process. So like he's been everywhere with me, and my mom's always there for the ride. So she always loves going on the visits or whatnot. She always gets to be famous on them. So but yeah, they have a really important spot in them. And one of the main goals was education. And my mom really loved the education part, and my dad just loved the coaching staff and the education. So that was one of the parts why I committed to Duke. So
Who all was on the official visit with you? Any other commits for the program?
so Grayson was on the official visit, and
Awesome.
who else was it? The wide receiver, I forget his name. Sorry,
Paul Davis?
sorry. I'm still getting yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to these
You're
guys.
still
I
getting
was
used to
trying to get
people.
on.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm still trying to know all their names, but yeah, it was him and Grayson. And Grayson, so me and Caleb, the other tackle commit, we were really close because we went to a bunch of camps together. So it was pretty fun the official visit for us. So Grayson's really a recruiter. So he was just honest, like you should commit here, or like some challenge, like you should commit there. So, but yeah, Grayson's a really good dude, and I think what Grayson was telling me was that 14 people were on the official visit, and all 14 people committed. So,
How
which
about
was
that?
really good. So,
That's awesome. That's really
right.
cool to hear. How excited
Mhm.
are you to get to know all those guys better?
I'm really excited because those guys are really good people, and we're gonna have way more on the other hand. Like we're supposed to have an inside guy. I don't know his name, but is we're supposed to have him soon, so that'd be really fun. I can't wait to make a relationship with Reagan. I haven't talked to him yet. I've talked to Caleb a lot. I talked to Grayson. I've talked to a couple wide receivers and tight ends, but everyone else I've talked to too. So, but yeah, I can't wait to make a relationship with these guys because we're going to be really special in the next couple of years. So,
Here in a few months, we'll see the first season of Coach Elko taking over the Duke football program. And then you get to come in a year and be a part of year two and that sort of thing. So, still very much creating the new identity of Duke football. I mean, is that something that excites you, or how excited are you about that?
so that was one of the parts of my commitment. So I like to be a part of a football program that's going up in the world. So basically, when it came down to, I'll just tell you this: it was down to UCF and Duke, and UCF has already been up on that mountain. And I don't think they're going to go up anymore. So whenever I was talking to Duke, it was like, shoot, I want to be a part of this, and I want to build something here. So, but yeah, I can't wait for what Coach Elko is going to do. He's going to shock the world, I think, because what they have right now, if they don't get injured, it's a bowl game automatically. Maybe New Year's Six if we're talking right now. So
Yeah, and that's exciting. That's what Duke fans like to hear. They want to hear about good football teams, and it seems like that's becoming more of a reality for the Duke Blue Devils. Tell me this: we've got one more year of high school football left to go for you. You play at Hoover down in Alabama, a really storied program. How excited are you to get to play for the Buccaneers one more year, to get to play high school football one more season?
So we have a new coaching staff. So Coach Nibla left us for Gainesville, of course. So we have a new coaching staff, and I'm really excited for this because I feel like this is what we always say, but this will be the year for us that we'll probably win a state championship. Thompson will probably be in the way, maybe Hewitt, but we're gonna win this year. I promise you that because we're gonna have me, and then we're gonna have some running backs that are gonna run the ball behind me. So we're going to run the ball a lot this year, and we're going to pass it some, but we're going to be a really good offensive team and really good defensive team. So we're going to win state. I'll just say
Well,
that.
oh, well, that's bold, and I'm all for it. We'll see if we can have that happen there in Hoover. What are you going to miss most about high school football? You think once the college football career starts, what do you think you'll miss most?
Camaraderie. Shoot,
Camaraderie, yeah.
Yeah, camaraderie. I don't know how to say that word. Sorry. But yeah, I probably miss that most. I love my guys there. They're probably one of the hardest working people I've known, and they've always wanted to push me. And those are the guys that really got me into football. I didn't really start playing football until my sophomore year, until they actually got me into it. So I just wanted to thank those guys before I committed, and I wanted to tell them because I was all part of them, because I wouldn't be playing football if it wasn't for them, because I was just playing it for fun. So, but yeah, I'm gonna miss that.
Do you have any individual goals for this last year of high school football that you're trying to accomplish, or anything else that you would like to get done before you move on to college football?
Uh,
Or just want to
win a
win a
state
state?
champion.
Yeah,
Want to
yeah,
win a state championship. It'd be nice to make All-State.
sure.
Probably be nice to be the best tackle in Alabama, which I probably will be if Alabama's nice, if the Alabama committee's nice to me and not nice to Thompson. But
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah,
Uh,
the main goal is going to win state. So yes, sir.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, what do you want the Duke football fans to know about Ethan Hubbard, and just what can they expect from you in the years to come?
Very physical and nasty, and it's going to get in people's heads. But we're going to run the ball a lot, and it's going to be very lethal. So
I love it. Ethan, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This has been a whole lot of fun.
yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Ethan Hubbard joining us here on Locked On Blue Devils. We're here on Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson, and man, I'm thrilled to be joined by one of the newest commits for Duke football, the class of 2023. I'm talking to one of the offensive linemen, Reagan McCranie, who's made his decision to bleed blue and play for Coach Elko and the Duke Blue Devils. Reagan, glad we got this opportunity to chat. I want to start here. Tell me this. Why Duke? Why make this decision to commit and play football for the Blue Devils?
It's really simple. It's just everything that Coach Elko and the staff are wanting to do with the program, really try to turn it around on their head and just make a new name for themselves. I just want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of I wanted to help turn a program around. I think I have that capability of doing that for a team.
You're obviously a state of North Carolina native. You've grown up in the state. Duke is very much so one of the big ACC schools that makes an impact on the college football world. Was Duke a school that you wanted to hear from in your recruitment?
It was at first it was they reached out to me and I was like, oh, that's cool. Duke's reaching out to me. And the more and more they reached out to me, the more and more I fell in love with them.
Had you heard from the previous staff at all, or did you really get more interest from Duke once Coach Elko and his staff took over?
I heard from them a little bit, but then as soon as the new staff came in, they started firing at me, and they didn't let up, and I loved that.
How long have you been playing football, Reagan?
Since I was 4, so this will be my 14th year coming up.
Crazy. Has playing college football always been a dream, or has that become something that you've started to really want to chase after over these last few years?
That has been a dream of mine since I started playing. That's the first thing. As soon as I started playing, I talked about playing college football.
What excites you most about being a Duke football player?
Like I said earlier, getting to be a part of a program that is trying to make a difference and become a national winning team.
Tell me about your relationship with Coach Johns, the offensive coordinator for Duke.
He's a great guy. He came by my school and talked to me, and all I can say is, like I said, he's a great guy. I love him.
Wait, is Coach Cushing somebody that recruited you as well, being the offensive line coach?
He did. He also came by my school, watched me practice, and he's introduced me to his wife. He showed my parents and my sister love that he's accepted us into the family.
So tell me about which coach have you heard from the most? Is it Coach Elko, or is it one of those offensive guys, or who's really taking you under their wing that you've heard from the most?
I think it'd be Coach Cushing.
Okay. What excites you about playing for him?
Just the fact that we've looked into his past and that he's sent a lot of offensive linemen into the NFL, and we just know he's a great offensive line coach.
Is playing in the NFL a dream of yours as well? Is that something that you hope to accomplish after playing college football?
Yeah, first I want to get where I want to be with college football,
Sure.
and then if I'm good enough to play NFL, then that's where I'd want to go.
It's always good to dream big. That's always a good thing. Reagan McCranie here with us on Locked On Blue Devils, one of the newest Duke football commits. The class is looking really impressive. Grayson Loftus and Paul Davis, those were a couple of the first guys to commit to Coach Elko, 1 and 2, both on the offensive side of the ball. I'm curious, the class as a whole, are you guys all communicating with one another? What has that been like, Reagan?
We are. We've been talking back and forth. We're trying to go around and trying to commit or not commit, but get other players that have offers by Duke, get them to. We're just trying to build it up more.
Is there anybody in the class that you've talked to the most? Anybody that you've become pretty good buddies with that you're excited to be teammates with?
I'd say probably Grayson.
Okay. What about Grayson Loftus makes you excited to play football? He's going to be the quarterback. You're the guy who's blocking. Tell me about that.
He's a nice guy. Great football player, and I can tell he loves the sport.
So as we get set for college football and you start looking at X's and O's and what that could possibly look like for Duke and looking at yourself, do you like pass blocking or run blocking more? And tell me why.
Run blocking.
Why is that?
My high school, all we do is run block. So it's easier for me. Not easier, but I don't have to think about it when I do it. I just do it. And that's something I'm very physical with when we do run block. I always finish the blocks, which is something Coach Cushing is preached to us, and he's preached to other players that he wants them to finish the block, and I've always done that.
What's your current playing weight, Reagan? And are you trying to bulk up at all? Are you trying to gain some? Like when you look at your body as you get ready to make that transition to college football, still one more year left of high school, but what does that look like?
Right now, I think towards when I get done with high school, I'll probably drop down a little bit just to get a little quicker,
Sure.
a little bit of shape, and then wherever they want me when I get there is what I'll do.
It's probably the best thing to do is just listen to what the coaches want and make that a thing. Have you heard from any of the other offensive linemen in the class? Ethan Hubbard, I know, is someone from Hoover that's one of the tackles in the mix. Have you heard from any of those guys at all?
We've talked a little, not too much, but we've talked just a little bit. But yeah,
it's so fun to look at this class being put together and what you guys can accomplish. I got to hear about your visit. Tell me about your visit when you went to visit Duke.
It was amazing. The first time we went in for a junior day, and
okay.
I couldn't. My dad can tell you on the ride back home, I wouldn't shut up. I wouldn't. I just kept talking about it, and I kept talking about it weeks after. I don't know. I'm kind of speechless on how they treated me, how they acted. It's amazing.
So after your junior day, tell me about the next time you went on a visit. How did all that come to be?
After the junior day, and then a few weeks later, I went to camp, got offered, committed, and then we went to. I'm trying to remember. It was a junior day. Yeah, we went back for a junior day. Or no, I went back for an official visit, and they treated us. I mean, one of the coaches came out, helped us bring in our luggage. They treated me like family, and that's exactly what I want in another school, is a family away from my family.
How much did it mean to you that they were taking care of your family? That, okay, it's not just me, that my parents get to be a part of this. You mentioned your sister a little bit earlier as well, the kind of family atmosphere. How much does that mean to you?
It means everything to me. Family is one of the biggest things in my life, probably the biggest. And I to see my future coaches treating my family the way I treat them, it means everything to me.
So we've got just a few weeks, or excuse me, you've got 1 year left of high school football before you get ready to start that college football journey. Tell me about your senior year, man. What does that look like? How excited are you to get to play high school football for one more year?
I'm ready for it. I've put my whole life into it, and just to think that I have 1 year left in high school, it's kind of sad, but also it's something I've worked for my whole life, and I'm ready for it.
Playing at Chase High School there in Forest City, North Carolina, what kind of goals do you have as a team for this upcoming year?
We have it. I say we want to win conference. That's something since 70s.
Wow.
And we had the team to do it.
Well, as you get ready to play college football in 1 year, and as more Duke fans kind of get to know you a little bit, is there any message that you would like to leave with the Duke football fans out there, or what can they expect from Reagan McCranie when he becomes a Duke football player?
That no matter what, I will work my tail off, and I will do everything I can to help this program turn around and become a winning program.
Reagan, I'm super excited to get you watched to play for the Duke Blue Devils in 1 year's time. I really do appreciate you taking some time to join us here on Locked On Blue Devils.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's Reagan McCranie here with us.